Hi, have you all heard what's going on in San Francisco right now? You know that they have these new rules that they're passing for their school district so that they are basically just letting people graduate from high school without having any type of basic skills or basic academic knowledge. And it's called, they call it grading for equity. It's one of the craziest things I've ever heard. And what they say, it eliminates homework and weekly tests from counting toward a semester grade. It also allows students to take the final exam multiple times just until they pass it. And it converts all B grades into A's and F's into C's. And this is really, really troubling because, and I'm posting this for you to read the whole thing. Americans, we have to wake up and realize somebody is after us and they're after our children. When they say that they don't want our children to have an education and they blame it on racial equity, that is an insult to everybody minority that I have ever heard. My parents were both teachers. I worked in education for almost 30 years. And let me tell you what this reminds me of. This is like literacy rules that they had during slavery. During slavery, they made it where it was illegal for slaves to learn how to read and write because slave owners were so afraid that the slaves, if they had the ability to read and write, they also would figure out how to free themselves from an institution that kept them from being treated like humans.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel with your man Wise. We got to check out this clip. We got to check out this clip from CNN, man. It's Abby Phillip News Night. Kevin O'Leary absolutely goes crazy, but I would say it's probably him and Shermichael Singleton. This particular story here is just, it's diabolical, man. It really is. It just goes to show you the lengths that the left is willing to go to dumb down the population so they can have full-fledged control. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it.
I think this rubs a lot of people the wrong way, but in the context of politics, the reason Ro Khanna is speaking up about this is because I think he sees this as one of the things that regular Americans look at and say, why are we doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, I don't know how you define regular Americans, but I think for the millions of educators out there, they can tell you that grading equity actually does help with making sure that students understand the curriculum they're being taught. This is pedagogy lending itself to making sure comprehension matters. I'll be honest, in my perspective, when I was reading about this, I spent some time at the National Education Association, so it's a policy that I'm familiar with. And when I was reading about this, I passed math. I was horrible at math. And I used to volunteer to clean the boards and clean the erasers and everything just to get extra credit to pass math. But if you ask me the square root of something, it might not work. I did not understand the curriculum, but I knew if I worked hard and appealed, then maybe I would pass. When I look at these kids post-COVID, most kids are not on reading level. Mm-hmm. They're not understanding what they're learning. And so if you can make sure, instead of giving a point system or a grade, and you can make sure, hey, I want to make sure that you can intellectually process the information you're receiving, repeat it back to me and understand it, I'm okay for that. All the AI has made it easy for kids to cheat. All the things that the Republicans are attacking, these fake culture wars, or they're attacking QRT, they're not learning.
California stays at the top of the idiot index. Either you can read and do math or you can't. That's how we advance our students. I mean, I can't believe this is such a stupid idea, and they continue to bring these things forward. No wonder it's a wasteland.
Let me tell you
San Francisco, California is a wasteland. This is more stupidity. Somebody should put up their hand. I'm doing it right now saying, you guys are idiots. Don't do that.
The 10 Commandments in the school, they're teaching conspiracy theories.
In Oklahoma.
That in Oklahoma, in my state, we're ranked 49th and 50th in education. We have a MAGA super majority.
So Oklahoma and San Francisco have bad schools in common.
So
in San Francisco,
listen, I don't think that is the answer either. Mm-hmm. I just think that we need to do something about education. This generation, I have my youngest son just graduated from high school last week, and they were raised by cell phones, and we need they need to learn to advocate for themselves. They need to have autonomy, and I don't know what the right answer is.
Isn't that an argument, though? I'll let you in a second, but
yeah, sure, sorry.
Look, I'm listening to Tiffany saying, okay, when I was in school, I did extra credit so I could pass math. Isn't that an argument for teaching kids not just the content, which you'll never do a square root in your adult life. So, whatever. I mean, not, okay. Me over here, I'm not doing square
Your
roots.
daughter's going to watch this one day, Abby.
But you're not going to do a square root, but you do need to learn how to complete your assignments on time. You do need to learn how to raise your hand and answer a question. You do need to learn those things that they're not expecting kids to do, apparently, according to this system. I'm not understanding that part.
I understand everything Tiffany just said. Hard work, you didn't get it, you kept putting that stuff forward, and the teacher helped you. That matters as you get older. You get a job and maybe you're not quite as efficient on a particular area. Your manager will say, okay, you know what, this is a good person, they're working hard, let's help them figure this out. That's a different thing, I would say, Tiffany, than saying we're going to completely change the grading structure. And I really worry about the implications on poor kids, particularly black kids, specifically black boys who are falling way behind black women in terms of academic attainment. In public schools, so I would never support this.
So, I looked this up. There's a pretty Tony private school in New York where they don't have grades, okay? It's very similar to this. They don't have grades because they evaluate kids differently. But I went to public school. I know the difference between a public school and a private school. And the difference is mainly who is going to make sure that when you get a 0 or on that first test, that you are actually on the second try learning the material.
Right,
and I am not sure that's...
Yeah. And
does the grade system now do that, though?
I don't know that the grading system does. And I want to acknowledge a lot of the points you made. I went and looked at the program as well, and there are dimensions of it that I think could actually be credible. I think the challenge, particularly in San Francisco, is this is the same school system that was eradicating higher level mathematics because they just imagine that, well, we need more equity in the schools and a lot of our kids will never go on to do algebra 2 or calculus, so we'll just stop teaching it. The soft bigotry of low expectations, I think that was a George W. Bush phrase, it's never been soft.
I agree
it's
with
never
that,
been
but then
soft,
when you think about things like AI coming into our education, or A1 as our idiotic education secretary would call it, it makes it easier for kids to cheat. Your colleague Jake Tapper did a story on that earlier today. And so I do wonder then, how are we ensuring that kids are learning what the information they're consuming, not just committing it to memory, but intellectualizing
Well, I think
what they're being taught.
That's a real question. I think the challenge is that so many school systems have actually used DEI and equity as an opportunity to essentially dodge the responsibility for doing the really hard work of remediation,
Jennifer,
which is what's necessary.
Can I ask you, on the...
Well, the other thing, too, is you got a lot of school systems out there that we don't have the best people teaching. We don't. We don't have the best people teaching right now. And because of these teacher unions, and it takes basically, an act of Congress to fire any of these people. You know what I'm saying? They have to, you can't get rid of the teachers that just flat out suck, that shouldn't be teaching. When I was in school, there were some teachers, especially on the math side of things. We're not getting the best and brightest to teach math. We're just not. You know what I'm saying? And they're not doing a good job in explaining and teaching the subject. And the thought process of, if you get an F, it's now a C, and we're just going to just pass people through. So what? We're going to have a wave of just illiterate people graduating high school? How is that going to help? How's that going to help anybody?
Politics of this. This is the type of thing that I think some Democrats say we need to move away from, because it's the way it's hitting the ears of a lot of parents is you all are so committed to equity in quotation marks that you want to just eliminate standards altogether. Do you think politically it's a mistake? This was halted for a reason in part.
I do think it's a mistake because I live in the backlash of this. And the backlash of this, when you have a MAGA supermajority, we had a Democratic governor in 2011. We were ranked 19th in the country in education. Since then, we've had MAGA supermajorities. We're ranked 49th or 50th, depending on where you look at it. And it gets crazier and crazier and crazier. And I think there's a backlash to these policies, and it hurts people. And then you have this breeding grounds for Christian nationalism, which is happening in Oklahoma. 10 Commandments, school superintendent buying Trump Bibles, teaching conspiracy theories. This is happening, and this is
Kevin,
not helpful for
what she's
children.
saying is true.
Yeah.
They are.
This lady said that teaching the 10 Commandments and teaching Bible principles are conspiracy theorists. Oh my gosh, man. Hey, the left is cooked. Long as they keep having people like this represent them and they keep talking like this, they're in trouble. they're in big trouble. The low bigotry of expectations, that is a real thing. Their idea is, hey, we're not going to get better at our job in educating. We're just going to eliminate standards and everybody now wins. When they started this whole everybody gets a trophy, it was the beginning of the downfall of society here in America. Now we're at a situation where everybody gets a trophy. Now everybody just passes, regardless if they know anything, if they can do the work or not. It doesn't matter.
We're trying to bring, Trump literally into the schools as if that is something that kids need to learn. Even the 10th Commandments. I mean, look, you can argue about biblical teaching or whatever, but in the schools, I'm not sure that is lending itself to the kind of rigorous academic learning.
I want to make a comment about education. I spent my whole early career in it. In math and reading scores, the Learning Company. 110,000 school buildings in this country. Parents don't care about politics. They would like to see their children advance to have the opportunity, if they wish, to go to college. The only way they get there is to pass through the gates of math and reading scores. They still remain the same in this country. It's not about politics, it's about teaching. We have very low productivity in this country on the amount of money we spend in teaching mandates. Every time I bring this up, it's a poo-poo storm that I get into. But because we have teachers' unions, we don't filter out the weak ones, the horrible teachers, the ones that don't care about advancing children.
Yep.
There are thousands of them.
That's
so terrible to attack
unions
teachers.
Right. Teachers are the problem. Is that what we're going?
But you would think the teachers' unions would actually be against this in San Francisco. Why would any teacher support this? This isn't equity for poor or black kids, so we're behind.
A very last word for you, and
that doesn't make any sense.
We're talking about the extreme on both sides, but parents in Oklahoma do care about politics, and a lot of them are for this now because they have politicized and turned people
rather
against
than advancing their
All
child.
politics
Yes,
impact the class.
have.
They'd rather worry about politics than passing their child on.
Yes, they do. They are riled
I'm
up,
having a hard time with that one.
approaching teachers. This is happening in red states all over the place. They're not interested in an objective education for their children. They want a Christian nationalist education. This is dangerous. It's not democracy.
All right, we got to leave.
Christian nationalist education is dangerous. That right there tells you everything you need to know about these people and smug liberal white women like this. These people are awful. And they're a lot of the reason why we have the situations that we have going on in this country right now. Now, let's be real. Grading equity, I mean, in theory, maybe it sounds nice, maybe, but it's marketed as fairness. But once you peel back the buzzwords, what you find is something deeply troubling. It's not equity. It's the bigotry of low expectations. We're telling students, especially poor, Black, and Latino students, that the standards are too high for them. That showing up on time, meeting deadlines, and mastering the material is somehow oppressive. So instead of helping them rise, we lower the bar. That's not justice. That's giving up on them. And it's insulting. We don't fix inequality by inflating grades or ignoring missed work. We fix it by giving students the tools and the support that they need to succeed, not by changing the scoreboard so nobody feels bad. Like I said earlier, that is the problem. Everybody getting a trophy, it's not helping. If a student can't meet expectations, the answer isn't to erase the expectation. The answer is to equip them better. Grading equity, it pretends to level the playing field, but all it really does is hide the gaps until it's too late. Until you have an 18-year-old kid graduating high school that can't write his daggone name. The world isn't going to curve real life. Employers and universities, they won't hand out participation trophies. And when you get out here in the workforce and have to compete, and you've never had to compete before in your life, you're putting our kids and you're putting these children in a position that they've never been in before. And they're behind the 8 ball. And if we don't teach kids to rise to a standard now, we're guaranteeing that they'll crash later. So yes, grading equity, it might feel good. It might sound good, but it's a feel-good failure rooted in soft bigotry, not strong solutions, but that's who the Democrats are. That's the truth. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe, turn the notifications on to all so you never miss an upload. Support the channel financially. Join the ARP family, or you can buy your man a coffee. That link's in the description box below. Appreciate the support, the love. Join us at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for ARP in the morning. Come check us out. Keep God first. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.
Vibe so raw, can't hide the truth. Words so sharp.